Grief is a strange, consuming beast. It doesn't just take the person you love, it takes your bearings, your future, and often your sanity. For me, the grief was compounded by the fact that I was left alone to deal with two major crises: the sudden absence of my husband, Mark, and the overwhelming, suffocating presence of his mother, Patricia. Mark had been gone for 4 months. A heart attack, sudden and brutal, at the age of 42. We had been together for 18 years, married for 15. He was my rock, my quiet humor, my safe harbor. When he died, it felt like the entire infrastructure of my life collapsed. Patricia, Mark's mother, saw my collapse not as a tragedy, but as an opportunity. She was a woman who believed that the only way to manage a crisis was to seize control of it. She moved into our house temporarily the day after the funeral, claiming I was too fragile to manage alone. What followed was a slow, deliberate colonization of my life. She rearranged my kitchen, criticized my mourning clothes, and fielded every sympathy call, often whispering loudly about my instability. I was too exhausted, too numb with sorrow to fight back. I let her do it, trading my autonomy for a false sense of protection. Patricia had always been a thorn in my side, a beautiful, impeccably dressed woman who viewed me, a nurse who married her beloved, successful son, as a pleasant but ultimately dispensable accessory. Now that Mark was gone, she treated me like a poorly managed estate that needed liquidation. The real battle, however, centered on one object: Mark's watch. It wasn't just any watch. It was a vintage 1940s gold Patek Philippe, a family heirloom passed down through 3 generations of Reynolds men. Mark had inherited it from his grandfather, and it was his most treasured possession. He wore it on our wedding day, and it was the one thing he always promised to pass down to our son, should we have one. Since we had only daughters, he planned to keep it safe for his future grandson or nephew. It sat, usually in a small, velvet-lined box, on the living room mantelpiece, next to a silver-framed photo of Mark and me on our honeymoon. A week ago, I had finally mustered the strength to start sorting through Mark's closet. The small rituals of cleaning brought a strange, bittersweet comfort. That morning, I decided I wanted to look at the watch, to feel the weight of his history in my hand. I walked into the living room, heading straight for the mantel. The photo frame was there. The velvet box was not. Panic, the first true sharp emotion I'd felt since the funeral, spiked through me. I searched the entire mantel, the drawers in the nearby console table, and then Mark's nightstand. Gone. I cornered Patricia as she was clipping coupons in the kitchen island. "Patricia, where is Mark's watch? The Patek Philippe." She didn't look up immediately. She finished clipping a coupon for organic kale, smoothing the paper with meticulous care. "The watch, dear?" "Oh, I moved it where? I need to know exactly where it is. It was meant to stay here in its box." She finally met my eyes, and her gaze was dismissive, almost pitying. "Sarah, darling, you are in no state to manage family valuables. I took it for safekeeping. You know how forgetful you've been lately. It's better off locked away for the time being." "Locked away where, Patricia?" "It's mine. It belongs in this house. It belongs to the Reynolds legacy, Sarah. And until the estate is formally settled, I am the executor of that legacy. It's safe. Do not worry your pretty little head about it." Her patronizing tone was the last straw. I had lived under her thumb for 4 months. Mark's death did not give her the right to take his most cherished possession. Over the next few days, I became obsessed. I searched the house secretly, knowing Patricia had a key to Mark's old study safe. The safe was empty. I looked through her luggage, her hidden jewelry box. Nothing. The watch was gone. My lawyer, a kind but overwhelmed man handling our estate's complexities, assured me that technically the watch was marital property and legally mine. But since the estate was in probate, reclaiming it from Patricia would be a messy, emotional battle I wasn't ready for. I decided to stop asking and start investigating. I knew Patricia's routines. She left the house every Thursday for a full day of charity work, though I suspected the work involved more expensive lunches than actual volunteering. I went through her trash, her mail, and her purse, something I would never have done under normal circumstances. I found nothing except receipts for clothes and obscure vitamins. Then, one Sunday, she left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while taking a call in the garden. I moved with a speed born of desperation. I navigated to her browser history. Most of it was benign, news sites, high-end shopping. But then I saw it, a search history line that read, "How much is a vintage Patek Philippe 1940s gold?" My heart seized. It wasn't safekeeping. She had been researching the value. The next line confirmed my deepest fear. Christie's auction house recent sales. She wasn't hiding it, she had sold it. I clicked on the link. The auction record was detailed, right down to the provenance. The watch had been listed by P. Reynolds. The sale price was astonishing, $185,000. I staggered back, feeling a profound sense of violation. Mark's legacy, the symbol of 3 generations, was gone, sold by his own mother without a word to me. And for what? To line her pockets? I printed the auction record, my hands shaking so badly I almost tore the paper. I now had the proof of the betrayal. But where was the money? Patricia had no financial need for that kind of cash. She was independently wealthy. This wasn't about money, this was about spite. I didn't have to wait long for the answer. Later that day, Patricia returned from her charity event, radiating an almost girlish excitement I hadn't seen since Mark died. She wasn't carrying a shopping bag or a donation box. She was carrying a huge, expensive bouquet of roses, looking utterly giddy, and the next morning a sleek, cherry-red, brand-new Audi S5 coupe was parked in her driveway, a car she had definitely not owned the day before. I realized then that this wasn't mere financial greed. This was an active, reckless investment in a secret. The watch was gone, replaced by a luxury car. But who was the recipient of this extravagant, secretive gift? The mystery of the car combined with the watch sale was the final twisted betrayal in my husband's memory. I was no longer grieving Mark's death. I was preparing for a war against his mother. The cherry-red Audi S5 coupe was a loud, vulgar exclamation point in the quiet, conservative neighborhood. It sat in Patricia's driveway like a testament to betrayal, purchased with the liquidated legacy of her dead son. I knew the car wasn't for her. Patricia drove a sedate Mercedes SUV, something appropriate for her age and social standing. This Audi was for someone younger, someone flashier, someone she was keeping a very expensive secret from me, and, crucially, from the rest of the Reynolds family. My initial anger solidified into a cold, focused determination. I was done with passive grief. I was no longer fighting for the watch. I was fighting for my dead husband's memory and for justice against the woman who was profiting from his death. My legal counsel, Mr. Henderson, was a dear man, but deeply traditional. I knew he wouldn't approve of my next steps, so I kept them private. I started treating this like a legal investigation, using my skills as a tenacious, organized professional, skills I had forgotten I possessed. First, the car. Patricia didn't use the Audi. It arrived that morning and then sat, gleaming, waiting. I had to find out who drove it. I installed a discreet, inexpensive security camera with motion detection aimed at her driveway, claiming it was for insurance purposes, given the ongoing probate situation. For 2 days, nothing happened. Then, late on Saturday afternoon, a man arrived. He was strikingly young, mid to late 20s, with slicked-back dark hair, expensive jeans, and the kind of athletic build that spoke of daily gym visits. He pulled the Audi out of the driveway with a confident roar, looking pleased as punch. I watched the timestamp on the camera feed. He spent less than 10 minutes inside, just enough time for a quick rendezvous and to pick up the keys. This was him, the toy boy, the beneficiary of Mark's watch. The camera wasn't clear enough to get a license plate number, but the image of the man and the distinctive custom Audi was enough. I went straight to Facebook, using the neighborhood group as my initial fishing ground. I searched for young men in the area who drove a red Audi S5. I found him within an hour. His name was Leo Maxwell. His social media profile was a testament to a life lived exclusively on credit and vanity. Photos of him working out, photos of him at upscale bars, and most damningly, a photo posted 3 days ago. A blurry selfie taken inside the red Audi with the caption, "New whip." Thanks to my sugar mama for the upgrade. Living the dream. The date of the post aligned perfectly with the day the car had appeared in Patricia's driveway, days after the auction sale. I took screenshots of everything: his face, his post, the date. The evidence was irrefutable. Patricia had sold Mark's most treasured sentimental legacy, an object that should have stayed within the family, to buy a luxury car for her young, gold-digging lover. The next step was establishing the nature of their relationship and timing. Had this relationship started before Mark's death? If so, did Mark know? That would turn betrayal into something much darker. I scrolled through Leo Maxwell's older posts. He had posts from 6 months ago, 2 months before Mark's death, at a high-end resort in the Caribbean. A week later, Patricia had posted photos from the exact same resort, though she cropped out everyone but herself, claiming she was taking a solo spiritual retreat. The affair was active while Mark was still alive. I felt a fresh wave of nausea. Mark had been battling stress and high blood pressure in the months leading up to his heart attack. The idea that his mother was not only cheating on her dead husband's memory but potentially adding undue stress to Mark's life was a bitter, painful revelation. I then found a crucial clue, a comment thread on one of Leo's posts from a year ago. A friend had tagged him, asking if his new job at the Reynolds Foundation was working out. The Reynolds Foundation. Mark was on the board of that foundation. It was a small charitable organization Mark's father had set up, managed mostly by Mark and Patricia. Leo Maxwell wasn't just some random toy boy she met at a bar. He was an employee of the family foundation, hired by Patricia. She had installed her lover on the family payroll, possibly using charity funds, right under my husband's nose. I called Mr. Henderson immediately, ignoring the late hour. I didn't mince words. "Mr. Henderson, I have evidence that Patricia sold Mark's Patek Philippe watch for $185,000 to buy a red Audi S5 for her young lover, Leo Maxwell. This Leo Maxwell is an employee she hired at the Reynolds Foundation while Mark was alive, and I believe she was sleeping with him before Mark died. This money must be brought back into the estate immediately." Mr. Henderson was silent for a full minute, his traditional composure completely shattered. "Mrs. Reynolds." "Sarah, this is a serious accusation. You are claiming conversion of estate assets and, potentially, misuse of charitable funds. Do you have physical proof?" "I have a bank-linked auction receipt, social media evidence, and security camera footage of the recipient of the $185,000 car. I want a temporary restraining order on the remaining estate assets, and I want an immediate forensic audit of the Reynolds Foundation accounts, focusing on any payments made to Leo Maxwell in the last year." I wasn't just a grieving widow anymore. I was an angry wife and daughter-in-law equipped with the cold, hard evidence of betrayal. The battle had escalated from a simple argument over a watch to a full-blown war over inheritance, financial fraud, and my husband's desecrated memory. The next morning, the legal paperwork would be filed. But before the lawyers could get involved, I knew I had to have one more, final, devastating conversation with Patricia. I needed to see her face when I showed her the picture of Leo Maxwell in the red Audi, paid for with the inheritance of the man she claimed to mourn. The following morning, I waited for Patricia in the living room, the one space she believed was hers to command. I was holding a folder containing the auction receipts, the printouts of Leo Maxwell's boastful social media posts, and the camera footage stills of him driving the bright red Audi S5. I wasn't shaking anymore. I was rigid with resolve. Patricia descended the stairs precisely at 9 a.m., dressed in an expensive cashmere suit, ready for her charity work. She paused when she saw me, noting the stern, non-grieving expression on my face. "Good morning, Sarah. I trust you haven't misplaced anything else of value today?" she asked, her tone dripping with passive aggression. I stood up, placing the folder on the coffee table. "I found the watch, Patricia. Or rather, I found where you sold it." Her face didn't betray fear or guilt, only annoyance, as if I were a persistent gnat. "Don't be ridiculous, dear. I told you, it's in a safe place." The safe place was Christie's auction house. "You sold Mark's irreplaceable family heirloom for $185,000. Here's the receipt with your name on it." I slid the auction record across the table. She picked it up, her elegant brow furrowing slightly as she scanned the document. "Well, I was going to tell you," she lied smoothly. "It was a necessary liquidity measure. Watches don't earn interest, dear. I was investing the funds for Clara's future trust. A wise financial move Mark would have applauded." "A wise financial move that resulted in this," I said, sliding the photo of Leo Maxwell in the Audi across the table. "Leo Maxwell, your toy boy, your employee at the Reynolds Foundation, the man who posted this photo 3 days ago, boasting about the new whip his sugar mama bought him, a cherry red Audi S5 coupe, a vehicle that costs exactly what you made from Mark's watch." This time, the ice cracked. Her perfect composure fractured, her eyes widened, and a thin, harsh line of white appeared around her lips. "You've been snooping," she hissed, the sudden shift to outright hostility more honest than any of her lies. "You've been spying on me. After everything I've done for you?" "You've done nothing for me, Patricia. You've used my house as your headquarters and my grief as your shield. I know you were having an affair with him while Mark was alive. I know you hired him using foundation money, and I know you sold Mark's legacy to pay for his car." She stood up, towering over me, trying to regain her intimidation factor. "It's not cheating when your husband hasn't touched you in 5 years." Yes, I was seeing Leo. He is vital, he is alive. Something Mark hadn't been for a very long time, even before his heart attack. "Mark was dealing with immense stress," I shot back. "Stress that was likely compounded by your reckless spending, your obvious affair, and your constant, cruel manipulation of his life." "Mark was weak," she screamed, dropping her facade entirely. "He was meant to be the cornerstone of the Reynolds dynasty, but he was passive, always allowing people to walk over him. That watch was sitting uselessly in a box. Leo is a businessman. He has ambition. He sees my value. That money was mine, Sarah, not Mark's. I married into this family. I helped build this wealth, and I deserve to enjoy it." Her justification was utterly narcissistic. She believed her self-fulfillment was worth more than her son's memory or my legal rights. "It wasn't yours, Patricia. It belonged to Mark's estate, and now it belongs to Clara. And as of this morning, my lawyer has filed an emergency petition. I listed the actions I had taken, savoring the look of true horror on her face. A temporary restraining order, TRO, on all probate assets to prevent further liquidation. A formal claim against her for conversion of estate assets, $185,000 plus interest. A subpoena for all of her personal and the Reynolds Foundation's financial records. A request for a full forensic audit of the foundation, focusing on Leo Maxwell's salary and expenses. "You've destroyed me," she whispered, her hands shaking as she finally understood the legal depth of the hole she had dug. "No, Patricia. You destroyed yourself the moment you prioritized your cheap little fling over your son's memory," I said, walking towards the phone. "You have exactly 1 hour to instruct your lawyer to cooperate fully and to get Leo Maxwell's address, because I intend to retrieve that car, sell it, and put the money back where it belongs." The next few hours were chaotic. Patricia called her attorney, then called Leo in a frantic rage, which I could hear echoing from her study. Leo, completely overwhelmed by the legal threat, immediately distanced himself, demanding that Patricia handle her mess and threatening to expose other financial secrets if she tried to drag him down. The forensic audit revealed that Patricia had indeed been padding Leo's expense accounts at the foundation for months, a clear misuse of charitable funds, adding a layer of criminal liability to her civil fraud. The watch was gone forever, but the car, the blatant cherry red evidence of the betrayal, was seized within 48 hours. The legal battle had officially begun, but the emotional victory was already mine. I had stared down the woman who controlled my life for a decade, and I had won the first, crucial battle. The legal battle that ensued was brutal, exactly the kind of messy, high-stakes drama Patricia had always sought to avoid. My attorney, Mr. Henderson, transformed from a hesitant probate lawyer into a crusader, fueled by the sheer audacity of Patricia's actions. The temporary restraining order froze Patricia's access to the bulk of the estate, preventing her from selling off Mark's investments or liquidating any more assets. The centerpiece of our case was the conversion of assets. The Patek Philippe watch, a clear piece of marital property, sold to fund a new car for her secret lover, Leo Maxwell. The forensic audit of the Reynolds Foundation proved to be the Achilles heel of Patricia's defense. The audit revealed that she had indeed funneled thousands of dollars into Leo's expense accounts for consulting fees that lacked any genuine documentation. This wasn't just a civil matter anymore. It was financial misconduct involving a non-profit entity, something that drew the immediate attention of the state attorney general's office. Patricia's high-powered lawyers tried every tactic. They claimed the watch was gifted to Patricia by Mark years ago. They argued that I was emotionally unstable due to grief and fabricating a conspiracy. And they tried to discredit the surveillance footage as an invasion of privacy. But the evidence was too compelling. The auction receipt bore her signature. Leo Maxwell's explicit social media post about his sugar mama was public record. The foundation's finances were irrefutably messy. Leo Maxwell, seeing the legal storm approaching, panicked. He knew he was a pawn, and in a desperate attempt to protect himself from the fraud charges related to the foundation, he secretly contacted my attorney. He provided a sworn affidavit confirming the affair with Patricia started before Mark's death, and confirming that the Audi was a gift funded by the sale of an old gold watch from Patricia. This affidavit, which was leaked to the local press, accidentally of course, was the final nail in Patricia's coffin. The local society pages, which had long revered Patricia as a dignified widow and philanthropist, turned vicious. The headlines were devastating. Reynolds matriarch funds Toyboy's luxury car with dead son's heirloom. Patricia's world, built on image and control, crumbled overnight. She was forced to step down from the Reynolds Foundation board, her charity lunches dried up, and her closest friends suddenly found themselves unavailable. The true cost of her betrayal wasn't the money. It was the total loss of her meticulously cultivated reputation. Our immediate priority was the car. The red Audi S5 sitting in a secured police impound lot was sold at a legal auction. The $175,000 proceeds, after fees, were immediately deposited back into the estate account, securing a significant portion of Clara's inheritance. The watch was gone, a painful, sentimental loss, but its monetary value was restored. During the discovery phase, we uncovered another disturbing secret. Mark had known that Patricia was constantly draining the foundation's discretionary funds and had long suspected her of having an affair. He had confided in a friend months before his death, expressing extreme stress and frustration about his inability to confront his mother without imploding the entire family business. The realization was a crushing blow. Mark had been living under the weight of his mother's deceit, and the stress had likely contributed to his untimely death. This knowledge transformed my fight from a legal battle over money into a moral crusade for my husband's vindication. We finally reached a settlement. Patricia, facing criminal charges for foundation fraud and social ruin, agreed to extremely harsh terms. She formally resigned from all positions within the Reynolds family trusts and the foundation. She agreed to fully reimburse the estate for the cost of the watch and the misused foundation funds, transferring a significant portion of her personal assets into Clara's protected trust. She agreed to move out of our home immediately, and her contact with me and Clara would be monitored and limited. The day she moved out, she didn't say goodbye. She simply left a note on the kitchen counter written on personalized stationery. "You got what you wanted, Sarah, but you will never have the class to manage it." I crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. Her final petty insult was meaningless. I didn't want her class, I wanted my freedom and my daughter's future. The divorce from Mark was finalized, leaving me a wealthy but newly independent widow. I looked at the large, silent house, now empty of Patricia's suffocating presence, and realized it still didn't feel like mine. I had spent 10 years living in a house dictated by my husband's expectations and 4 months governed by his mother's manipulation. I decided to take the money from the settlement and the sale of the house and start fresh. I bought a small, beautiful, unpretentious home by the coast, far away from the Reynolds' established territory. I was no longer fighting for the dead man's legacy. I was building my own. I had faced the most formidable woman in my life and used her own tactics against her to secure the safety of my child. The sale of the old house was the final severance from the Reynolds life. I sold it quickly without looking back, taking only the few objects Mark and I had chosen together. Moving to the coast, a small town 2 hours away from the city's judging eyes, was an act of rebirth. Our new home was smaller, filled with sunlight, and entirely our own. It smelled of salt air and possibility, not stale wealth and passive aggression. Clara thrived instantly. She enrolled in a local school, joined the sailing club, and started sleeping peacefully through the night for the first time since her father's passing. The financial security from the settlement meant I didn't have to rush back to the high-stakes world of corporate nursing. I took a part-time position at a local community clinic, finding a quiet satisfaction in helping people without the toxicity of the Reynolds name attached. My relationship with Mark's memory shifted. Once I had seen his death as a cruel, random tragedy. Now I saw it as a life cut short by the immense pressure of living under Patricia's rule. My fight against her was the final, messy way I could protect him and honor the kind, gentle man he truly was, separate from the burden of his family name. The legal fallout for Patricia was profound and permanent. The Attorney General's investigation into the Foundation's finances concluded that she had misused charitable funds for personal gain. Though she avoided jail time due to her age and a heavy financial penalty, she was legally barred from ever holding a position on a non-profit board again. Her friends abandoned her. Her standing in the community vanished. She tried to maintain her social life, but she was treated as an outcast, the woman who sold her dead son's watch for a toy boy's car. She sold her grand estate and moved into a small, sterile condominium, a golden cage, but a much smaller one. I didn't gloat. I simply observed. Her punishment was the loss of the only thing she truly valued, her prestige. For a few months, she tried to leverage her remaining influence. She would send expensive, overly formal gifts to Clara's school, trying to assert her grandmotherly role. I quietly returned them all. I maintained the court-mandated, supervised contact, but our relationship was strictly transactional, mediated by a third party. One day, about a year after the move, Clara asked me about the watch again. She was older now, more perceptive. "Mom," she asked one evening while we were watching the sunset over the ocean, "why did Grandma Patricia hate that gold watch so much?" Dad said it was the most important thing to him. I knew I couldn't tell her the full, ugly truth. The toy boy, the foundation fraud, the betrayal. But I could tell her the lesson. That watch was important because it was a symbol of Mark's history, I explained. Grandma Patricia saw it as just a thing, something to be sold for convenience. She didn't understand the meaning of it. People who value things over love and loyalty often make bad choices, Clara. Sometimes they even hurt the people they love. Did she sell it because she didn't love Dad? Clara asked quietly. She sold it because she only loved her own expectations, darling. And we don't live by her expectations anymore. We live by ours. Clara seemed satisfied with that. She understood that her life was now anchored in authenticity, not appearance. I sometimes ran into Leo Maxwell's profile online. He had moved out of the state, his sugar mama money gone, now working a mundane job, his dream car likely repossessed or sold. He was just a footnote in the real story, the story of a woman who chose integrity over money. 2 years after Mark's death, I finally found closure. I was sitting on my porch, reading, when I realized I hadn't thought about Patricia all day. The constant, draining battle was finally over. I had secured my daughter's future, vindicated my husband's memory, and most importantly, I had rediscovered my own strength. The greatest inheritance Patricia never wanted me to have was the quiet, confident knowledge that I had faced her worst betrayal and walked away whole. I had been forced into grief, manipulation, and litigation, but I emerged independent, strong, and finally, truly free. Thank you for listening to this difficult confession. We are so grateful to share these stories with you. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments section below.